The following is an AZPM original production.
For AZPM, I'm Mark McLemore, and this is Arizona Spotlight. Coming up, why has the United Nations ranked Finland as the happiest country in the world for 7 years in a row? I'll talk with Nina Trasoff about a new documentary she worked on that explores the reasons why. Find out about Bad Art Night at the Arizona Science Center in Phoenix, and find out what it has to offer those with creative curiosity. Meet 3 of the feature film directors of tomorrow, who are taking a big step forward this weekend at the 19th annual I Dream in Widescreen Film Showcase. And are you struggling to build up your own supply of self-love? 4th grader Amanda offers a fresh perspective from Stories That Soar. Those stories are all next on Arizona Spotlight. This year, for the 7th year in a row, the nation of Finland has been recognized by a United Nations report that's called the Happiest Country in the World. The designation was based on data connected to topics including economics, education, healthcare, childcare, crime, housing, and hunger. According to the UN, the USA came in at 23rd. My guest, Nina Trasoff, known in our community as a reporter, radio and TV personality, and city council member, is the co-producer and host of a documentary called The Happiest Country in the World, Finland. Trasoff took several trips to the remote Scandinavian country to talk with people who have many different perspectives on what happiness really means in Finland.
What's interesting, Mark, is when we were there and people would ask the premise of the documentary we were producing, and I'd say, well, Finland is the happiest country, and they go, huh? And they'd literally laugh or look at me very quizzically, saying, really? And then we'd start talking about their life. And they would talk about the health care and confidence in their government, believe it or not, confidence in their government, not having to worry about housing, having education free all the way through, and the quality of education, and their immigration policies. And they'd say, well, yeah, I'm satisfied, I'm content. And then they would look at me as if a light bulb were going off, saying, oh, I guess being content is being happy. And so they would back into it. Many of them would back into it.
Watching the documentary, I felt like I was seeing the aftermath of a common sense bomb that had gone off in a nation and irradiated everyone and everything with common sense.
Bingo. Because
there were societal adaptations and community developments that I've often thought about. I wish that could happen here. Gosh, wouldn't it be nice if we could eliminate greed to a degree that we would start seeing positive impacts throughout our culture, throughout our society, that our extremely late-stage capitalist society is kind of pulling itself apart in so many ways. Did things like that cross your mind when you were in Finland?
Oh, absolutely. It was the same aha moment of, wow, why can't it be like this? And the answer I keep getting from people here is, well, we're a much larger country and more diverse. Well, they're becoming increasingly diverse, and they are looking for immigrants because their population is aging, and they know they need new people coming in as the workforce and then continuing things moving. There's an attitude, and some say it's Scandinavian or Nordic, and I don't think it's that. I think it's just an approach to life and living that recognizes the better you're doing, the better it is for me. Mm-hmm. I talked to a college professor at one point because she was retired and had earned a very good living. They actually pay their teachers very well and support them, but that's a whole other conversation that we can have in a moment. The question I asked her was, don't you resent paying really high taxes because you have a nice apartment, you have a good income in retirement? Don't you mind paying for schools and other social welfare things because you don't need them and you don't use them and you don't have children? And she said, why would I not want to make a society a better place? And a journalist I spoke with, her answer was, it's actually selfish. It's in my self-interest to make sure that my neighbor is doing well. It creates a better society for all of us. And that's an attitude that they carry everywhere. And I don't think I met a single person who didn't have that kind of approach to what's good for you is good for me.
One of the starkest, sharpest contrasts to United States life is in the way they handle the prison system. And you say when you meet the warden at one facility, you point out there's no walls.
I found a system that acknowledges that more than 85% of the people who go to prison are going to get out again. And I saw them making a conscious effort to educate them, to give them a skill that with which they could earn a living. First, we went to the minimum security prison. They each have their own room, their own bathroom, their own computer, their own television. Doors that close with no windows or bars on the doors. You can have privacy. So there's an acknowledgement that these are lesser criminals who messed up, need to be separated for a while, but need to be melded back into society again. Mm-hmm. And they treat them that way, and they come out that way. They do wear ankle bracelets. They get a stipend that they take them into town once a week, and they shop for the week's groceries, so they have to plan ahead. And the most wonderful thing for me was they each get leave every month or two to go home.
Yeah, you talk to one young
families.
man,
yes.
He has a vacation on his calendar when he will get to spend time with his wife.
But how simple and brilliant that is to maintain relationships so when they get out of prison, they haven't lost their family and their home and possibly their job because they've been gone for whatever period of time. But even the length of sentences, life sentences, the woman who heads the program, she said, the longest sentence I remember is 22 years.
I was thinking about where this path that the Finnish people have chosen, where it might have begun. And it was interesting to hear someone who is well acquainted with their history talk about their recovery from wartime, and that the Finnish people actually had suffered greatly during the war, and it was difficult to reintegrate the population after the war. What signs did you see that hinted at this catastrophic phase of Finnish culture that they have now managed to learn and grow from?
Maybe that's part of the spirit of the country, that it was so bad that the only choice they had was to reach out to each other to try and recover. And it's not perfect, but they're doing some things in a very interesting way. But in the non-perfect, when you look at, is it something like 900 miles of shared border with Russia? And when we were there, they were very nervous because Ukraine had happened. But also, they've had their differences with Sweden. And they have a very small Swedish population, but they have two official languages, Swedish as well as Finnish. Children can choose to go through school in Swedish. Now, they're mandated, they do have to learn Finnish. There's no choice that you stay monolingual Swedish. But they respect that heritage and that culture as an integral part of their country as it now stands. And the educational system, I think a lot of that is the foundation, and we did cover it a fair amount in the documentary with the little kids. And they acknowledge that kids shouldn't be in lessons for more than 45 minutes and then they need a break. You don't take pre-K kids and jam them with the alphabet and learning how to write. They don't start teaching those things until I think it's the second grade. It's not that they're not learning them by osmosis in just how they're living and how they're interacting, but they believe the most important thing for these kids to learn is how to get along with each other, how to learn, how to ask questions. And then a lot of their learning is by group, not a teacher standing up and saying, this, and this, memorize it. It's, well, here's a question. What do they do in Europe about, and then they set them off in groups and they come back with reports. So they're learning how to do research. They're learning how to work with their colleagues, and they're learning how to present. But they let the kids discover those things. And I'm wondering if that isn't part of the key to their whole society, is that they learn at such a young age to get along and work together.
To people who look at the United Nations list of the happiest places in the world and think, this is silly, this isn't the kind of thing I want the United Nations to spend its money on, what would you say to that? Why do you think that this is important?
I don't think it's important as a number, we're number one. I think it's important because of this conversation. When somebody's number one, you start saying, why? And then you start exploring their educational system. their healthcare system, their immigration system, how they handle immigrants, how do they handle prisons. And you see a continuity of approach that is one that looks holistically at what's best for our society and our country as a whole. So I think when you're looking at who's number one, I don't think the ranking matters as much as the why behind it.
That was Nina Trasoff, the co-producer and host of The Happiest Country in the World, Finland. AZPM will be presenting a virtual screening of the full documentary on Wednesday, May 8th at 6 p.m. Producers Nina Trasoff and David Arendt will be online for a Q&A following the film. The event is free and open to the public. You can register now at azpm.org/Finland. Also, on Mother's Day, May 12th at 5 p.m., the documentary will be broadcast on PBS 6. As someone who cares deeply about aesthetics, if you ask me, the world has always had too much bad art, and the dawn of AI is creating bad art at an exponential rate. But my next guest reminds me that all art is subjective, and sometimes people should be encouraged to play around with art, regardless of aesthetics, to connect with their inner creativity and possibly begin the journey to creating a masterpiece. That's what the Arizona Science Center's upcoming Bad Art Night is all about.
My name is Lauren Poole, and I'm the Senior Manager of Science Experiences at Arizona Science Center. You know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so it may be bad to one person, but beautiful to someone else. We really want folks to just come in and tap into that creative side without any feelings that they're not an artist, right? Maybe they want to try out art for the first time, but they're afraid that they're going to be bad. So we're giving them that place to try new things.
Is there any kind of judging going to be happening? Is there a contest of any sort?
There's no contest and no judging. We really like to keep it judgment-free, and we really just want to create a place of community for folks to come together and create and to make. So we have so many fun things that we set out. We buy a lot of our materials secondhand, so that way we're really focusing on that upcycle aspect, right? But we do provide them with canvas, and that can be a traditional canvas. We hand out blocks of wood that you can use for a canvas. We cut up old poster boards that can also be a canvas. We give you paintbrushes, paint, and then there is a giant table with almost anything that you could think of on it. So there's feathers to googly eyes, to glass beads, to different colored tape. I would say anything you can imagine, but we really like to put out the silliest things so that you can really tap into your most creative self.
Is there any advice that you would give the listeners to what they might bring with them in their heart or their mind to this event?
I suggest that people bring that sense of curiosity and wonder. If you were ever considering being an artist, or if you just don't want to make the mess at home, right? I have a 5-year-old, and, finger painting is a big thing, but do I want to do finger painting in my living room on my white rug? I don't think so. So I would bring your messiest child and all of the curiosity.
So it's a safe space for a mess.
It is a very safe space for a mess. We have all the fixings. We got towels. We got paper that we cover the tables. So you bring the mess to us and we'll clean it up for you.
Lauren, can you tell me about anything special that you remember about a past Bad Art Night? Something that really impressed you, or maybe you felt compelled to take a picture and share it with other people on your phone?
Yes. The first Bad Art Night that we had, we set up a community art wall. So after you were done making your bad art, you were invited to come up to this massive piece of cardboard that said Community Art Wall at the top and make a giant mural with all the folks in the room. And what turned out was spectacular. It turned out to be this massive face that one of my staff members painted, and then the kids came up and they added handprints and silly faces. It was crazy, the things that came out of it, but it was a really beautiful moment where everybody that was participating that night came together and created a giant piece of what we like to say is, quote, unquote, bad art.
I think I'm understanding things better now from my perspective about thinking that there's already enough bad art in the world. You're not really asking people to try to make something ugly or unattractive. You're just giving them the freedom and the space to see what happens. So, Lauren, some people listening might think to themselves, I don't understand how this would fit in with the mission of the Arizona Science Center. What would you say?
I would say we are that A in STEAM. Without art, you wouldn't have science. Without science, you wouldn't have art. You have to be creative to be an engineer. All of that is designing. All of that is making. All of that is really tapping in to that left side of your brain that, showcases all of the wonderment that can happen when you begin to create in the world, whether that be building a building, cooking food. Everything has science in it, and everything has art in it. They really go together really well.
Thanks to Lauren Poole, Senior Manager of Science Experiences at Arizona Science Center at 600 East Washington Street in Phoenix. Their next family-friendly Bad Art Night is Friday, May 10th from 5 to 8 p.m. The film industry has recently undergone some seismic changes, many of which can make it even harder for an up-and-coming director to succeed. And this is an industry where most success was already a gamble on wishes and dreams. The graduating class of student filmmakers from the University of Arizona School of Theater, Film, and Television are all aiming high. And an annual showcase of their top 13 short films, called I Dream in Widescreen, makes its debut at the Fox Tucson Theater this Saturday. I watched 3 films from these emerging talents, and next we'll meet them and hear a short clip from their films.
Hi, I'm Jackson Huffman, and I'm the director of Ricardo Rivera, The Mines of Montezuma. And I'm a 4th-generation Tucsonan, so grown up here my whole life. Fox Theater especially is like my backyard. That's where my grandparents actually had their first date, was at the Fox Theater. So really, really excited to have something on that big screen at iDream this year.
So when I saw the thumbnail of your video, I thought, I think I know what kind of movie this is. But you really did subvert expectations. And how much of that was intentional in terms of the story you wanted to tell, and how much of it was maybe you might have wanted to shoot a slightly different type of film, but you needed to scale it down to reasonable expectations?
Well, it was completely intentional in the sense that, I want to make an Indiana Jones style movie that's going to be the comparisons that it's going to get, whether, we succeed or fail, like it's going to be compared to Indiana Jones. So I wanted to make something that we address sort of like the natural like adventure genre, but then we pull it back and really let our characters shine through there. With our characters are really funny, very relatable. And so I really believe that it was intentional to try to address sort of the action genre, but then, with our location, with our characters, that's where that's what makes our film unique and really stand out compared to some of the other genres there.
I think one of the most striking things about your film from a lot of student films I've seen is you were doing location shooting. Mm-hmm. I have an idea that came with some restrictions and some expectations about how you were going to behave with your crew.
Pitching it to my peers, my professors, that I want to shoot in a mine, definitely strike some conversations with safety, let alone the fact that my film has stunts and it has, dynamite and it has, fight scenes in there. My assistant director, Marley, really helped me out, breaking down like, here's the safety, here's the rules, here's how we're going to approach every shot. Here's, that was the key part, is making sure everyone's going to be safe in the mine.
What about just psychologically? Some people have difficulty with confined spaces.
Yes, that was the whole thing that we had to have a meeting about, talk to everyone so they understood that although the mine where we're at, we are not deep below ground, we are still like in a tunnel where if they needed to, they can, at any point just let our assistant director know that they need to step outside, get some air. And even our costume designer had some like apprehensiveness to going into the mine, but that's okay. We just brought the actors out to them and then they got to go in there. And so we addressed it, on a case by case per basis. If anyone felt uncomfortable, that was our key there, trying to make sure that everyone felt comfortable on set.
You and your DP did a good job. I really enjoy how you used the space, and it was visually interesting.
Hey, I'm Kat Combs, and I am the director and writer of Wandered Away. And one thing I want people to know about me is that I am from Memphis, Tennessee.
You chose to make a horror film and something that's based on found footage.
Yes.
First of all, there's a really good jump scare at the beginning of your movie. What goes into making a good jump scare? Because we know there's bad ones.
When it comes to jump scares, I think it just comes with imagination and timing. I really love horror games, so I try to imbue that in my script. So during the first scene when she's recording herself, I just want it to be unsettling, you don't expect it, and then boom, it's there. So I just think you have to create the atmosphere of it being like quiet and unsettling, but you don't expect it. Because I know like people with horror, they always expect the jump scares, but you have to make it unexpected.
Kat, I thought one of the things your film really had going for it was the energy put into it by your lead actress and also the chemistry between the actors. Tell me a little bit about casting, what you were looking for, and did you know going into the project that you were going to need that kind of energy to make it work?
Oh yeah, when I wrote Maeve, I really, really needed like a high energy person who embodied that influencer style. And I actually invited Sydney, who played Maeve. She instantly pulled it off. I think with me and my producers, we were like, we're gonna cast her like right off the bat. But yeah, I wanted somebody to be of the generation of like coming up like as TikTok influencers who make those crazy marketing videos and always like high energy. So like I think I also came from a place of myself because I used to love doing YouTube and reaction channels. So I kind of wanted to...
Isn't it called MyTube?
Yeah. Yes, MyTube. I just wanted to like not necessarily put myself in it, but I wanted to put my experience in it. And then since I'm a TikTok addict, I wanted to like create like a really big character around it.
Well, you established really quickly that she's far more interested in doing an influencer video than going to a family reunion. It says something about the priorities maybe that the social media generation has.
It came from like a familial like experience that I've had, and I kind of wanted to like play on the theme of family, especially in horror. Like we see Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all like other families in horror. So I wanted to use that trope, I guess.
That's a good reference.
Using a family like as the villain was like really important to me.
Since your film uses a lot of found footage, you were kind of putting the role of photographer DP into the hands of your cast. I mean, if they didn't get good shots with their cell phones, you weren't going to have too much to work with in the edit room. What was your thought process about that, or how did that turn out for you?
Yeah, my DP was actually Grace Farmer, so we actually planned the shot list. I mean, I already have a DP mindset. I love planning like shot lists. And when it came to filming, I had Grace Farmer like practice with the actress, so that way we could get like the proper angles, the proper framing, and we watched back like on set like all of the takes that we've done, and it turned out how I wanted it to be.
Hi, my name's Fiona Paskoff. I'm a film and television student here at the University of Arizona. My film is called Something Blue, and I'm from Seattle, Washington, Northwest.
Well, Fiona, you included some nice outdoor shots of Tucson in your film, but the core of your story is an intergenerational family drama. So what were your main influences in creating this?
One of the influences for me when I was writing this film was a lot of the work by Céline Sciamma. She's a French filmmaker, and she tells really like nuanced stories about women. I really love the way that her cinematographer shoots her films in a very natural way. And I was also very inspired by Studio Ghibli films and how nature is used to externalize a lot of the internal emotion of the films.
What do you think was on your mind when writing the film in terms of making this relationship between a young woman, her mother, and her grandmother feel real?
Yeah, so when I was writing this, I really wanted to explore the traditional expectations around marriage that women have for each other within their families. The way that I kind of built the dynamics of my characters was just kind of based off of like the different interactions that I've had with women in my family. Specifically for the grandmother character, Bernadette, older women in film are kind of subjected to a more like sedentary like lifestyle and more passive, and I wanted her to have agency.
Although we're told a few things, we have to assume a lot. There are things that are said, but there's much more that's unsaid. And that seemed realistic to me.
There's this family of women, they love each other so much, and there's a lot of emphasis in their family on like wanting their daughter and their granddaughter to live their own life and have their own independence. So then when she steps out of that mold, that granddaughter and that daughter, and goes against this societal expectation of marriage that kind of rocks this family dynamic.
Well, what did you think when you saw it on the big screen for the first time?
It was very surreal. It's something that I started writing last summer, and to see it throughout the whole process of from pre-production, production, and post, and now on the big screen, it was pretty incredible.
And Kat, what was your experience with seeing it?
Seeing it on the big screen was, I don't know, like a dream come true, like indescribable. We worked on these films for so long, and we're used to screening our films at the Loft, but now it's on like the Fox Theater. It's just a world of whims, I would say.
And Jackson?
Kind of felt like it was a dream come true kind of thing. I think we all going to school imagine ourselves like our names on that screen at some point or another, but it was really special to me, especially getting to see my name up there. And I'm looking forward to all the laughs, all the excitement that just people to react to it. I think that's what I'm looking forward to, is people getting the reaction, talking with them in the lobby, just it's been living in my head for now over a year. So I'm excited to actually get it out there.
Directors Jackson Huffman, Kat Cones, and Fiona Paskoff will be joined by 10 other filmmakers, all seniors from the University of Arizona School of Theater, Film, and Television, at the 19th Annual I Dream in Widescreen. It is this Saturday evening at 7 p.m. at the Fox Tucson Theater, and there's a trailer and a lot of information on the Spotlight page at azpm.org. The Tucson nonprofit Literacy Connects sponsors a professional group of performers and musicians called Stories That Soar. Their mission is to help young writers realize the potential of bringing their stories to life across every medium, including radio. Next, Amanda, a fourth grader at Blindman Elementary, wrote this narrative about self-love. From her perspective, she sees herself as a trusted friend who shares in the joy of life, and reveals she appreciates her own identity and worth.
I love myself. I love myself. She washes my hair for me. She always buys me stuff in my favorite color. This one's very nice, and what about this one? Ooh, look at that one. That one's my favorite color.
Nice color.
Thanks. She listens to all of my unreasonable thoughts. I'm never gonna learn this. I can't do this. I'm just not good enough. Okay. And is there with me in my happiest moments. Come here, boy. Go get him. Good boy. She knows the perfect song for whatever mood I'm in. Let's see. Ooh, yes! I'm so lucky to know her. I'm so lucky to know me. I love myself. Yeah. The end.
That was written by Amanda, a fourth grade student at Blenman Elementary. Go Eagles! It was performed by Presley Pano from Esperero Canyon Middle School. Aspiring student-age writers can submit their stories, poems, and songs to the Magic Box Story Portal now at literacyconnects.org. And tune in for more Stories That Soar every month on Arizona Spotlight. And tune in for more Stories That Soar every month on Arizona Spotlight. Thank you for listening. This show is a production of AZPM. The production engineer is Jim Blackwood. Production assistance by Alicia Vasquez. I'm producer and host Mark McLemore.
AZPM podcasts are made possible in part by donations from listeners like you. Learn more at support.azpm.org. Thank you.